At the age I am now, if I can't teach, I shouldn't even open my mouth to speak.
What's up, everybody? It's the J Blast Network, and I'm back for another real talk. And this time I'm talking about learning how to accept loss. And notice how I said accept and not get over. I know today is Father's Day, and it's very important to a lot of people. But it's very important to me because I had a father, and he passed away around, let's say, 2019, thanks to a motorcycle accident. And ever since then, I've had to accept the reality where he didn't really, or I should say, he isn't here anymore. And I don't want you to feel sad for me when I say that or anything like that. I'm just saying that to start this conversation because ever since then, I feel like I can really help people who go through loss and learn how to accept it. And I'll tell you right now, when I first went through it, and it was my first loss, I lost a few people before, but your parents, and especially at a young age, they're like invincible to you, right? It's like they're the ones that are not supposed to go away, right? If you know your parents. It's kind of like when people see certain celebrities, right? Like people known for their whole life and then they pass away and say, wait a minute, you're one of the untouchables. You shouldn't have had to go through that. But everybody's human and stuff happens. And we can't really change that. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I remember the day that it happened, I got a call from my aunt and, I just didn't know how to feel. I didn't hate my father. I love my father. But it was just hard for me to feel anything. I guess it was the shock of potentially happening. I was told that he was probably brain dead and he was in the hospital. And I can't lie to you, it was a city away, but even then, I felt like I was a coward because I didn't really want to see him in that state, but I never got to see him off. And at least, when he passed away, but he was already brain dead. And for that moment, I felt, the next day I got the call and said he was actually brain dead. And after that, I just felt nothing. Like I went down there. I come from a family that was there. I didn't cry. I didn't do anything. I was sad. I knew I was sad. I wanted to. I was like, why am I not crying? I was questioning why I couldn't feel anything. And I think it was just a shock, right? Because a new reality sets in. You can't really replace people. It's a void that's created that when it happens. And I was really young at the time. I'm like 20 at the time. I still got my older folks in the family alive, but Dad was the one that went out first. And something about that got to me. But I didn't know why I wasn't, crying, why I wasn't doing things like that. And it wasn't until I got back home, I had to go back home that same day, that I finally had broke down and had, cried about it the first time. And I guess it just took a while to sink in, but I felt guilt. I felt guilt just for not, I feel like I didn't feel anything when I was supposed to. I wanted to. But I guess the body just reacts in a different way when you're in that shock and you have to accept that new reality that's set in for you. So then the next 2 weeks, planned out the funeral and everything, and I finally got that closure because I got to see him, his body at the funeral. And that was the second time I was able to cry about it. And that's just, it wasn't like something like bawling out. It was like silent tears, like you just kind of like, how when you tear up and you don't really make any noise, it's just kind of tears coming down and you're just kind of thinking to yourself. And I saw it, I said bye to him. I saw them bury the grave, and at that point I was still just contemplating things, right? Like what life would be like, stuff like that. And I thought that was the closure, but I didn't receive that as that wasn't my final time seeing him, if this makes sense to some of you all. My final time seeing him was actually in a dream months later. I'll tell you the truth, man. I was struggling in my math class. I was engineering. I was struggling in my math classes, and I had issues there. And I was afraid to my dad sometimes about my grades for those classes. I had to retake that calculus 2 class that I was taking then for that year. Those were the first 2 classes, calculus 1 and calculus 2, I had to retake. And I remember, kind of being, it was the first test, and I was kind of like stressed out because, when I talk about how failure is not the end, but sometimes when you fail, and at that time, I was at my weakest, because I was doubting myself, wondering what's going to happen. And I got like a mess, when I was in the dream that I had, it's like I was talking to him, and he came to my dorm. I talked to him, and it was like we having an actual conversation, like he was there. And I remember, I said, good luck. I walked out the door in a dream, and I woke up, like, with tears in my eyes. And that was the last time I saw him, but it gave me that closure. And I know some of you have different religions and different beliefs. I'm Christian, but I do believe that people who are close to us, their spirits can come into contact with us, and they still remain with us, right? Even though they may not be here in the physical world, they remain in your brain as memories, they remain in your heart as love. And you still have memorability, like pictures and stuff of them. You can still look back at the times of them. And I think because of that, maybe in some way, they protect us in a way. Because ever since then, I'm not gonna say life's been perfect, but I mean, I feel like I have a guardian angel. Every time I feel like I was literally it, and good things have come my way, and I feel like I've been safe because of that. But my father's looking down on me, and he's looking down on my sister too. Actually, that was the big thing, you know. The day he had passed, that night before they even confirmed he was fully dead, she was talking to him in her sleep. She's like around this time, like about 5 years old. And I always say to me, it's like, if that's not God, if that's not, you know, a higher power than what it is, right? You know, because my sister, I never saw her cry over. Granted, she's a child. At the same time, it was like maybe he went to her first to comfort her, you know? And because of that, she understood. I don't know. I never kind of talked to her about that. But the point that I'm trying to really get to with this is that what I had to understand was how to accept that reality of loss and the loss of that person. And that was putting me in the shock because I didn't know how to really react to it. You know, some people can't handle it. And I think part of it is just that you don't know how to accept loss. Right. I'm not trying to shame people, but what I'm saying is that a lot of people, when a problem occurs in life, right, that or something bad happens to you or something, you know, like let's just say something simple, right? Like someone, you know, spits on your shoe or something. It's something stupid like that, right? You know, most people would say, hey, you know, you got better things in life, get over it. But you're not supposed to give over loss like that or death in a sense. You're supposed to accept it and accept the world around you. Even if you don't want to accept it, you know, the world's going to move on and things are going to happen. That void is going to be there where that person was. So you're going to have to accept it one way or another. And I didn't really know that was the solution to it. And keep in mind, I'm not saying that you're never ever going to like be not upset about it, or you're never going to think about it. Cause I still do. I still think about it. I haven't cried since that dream over it though, because I felt like I got that closure and I felt like I wanted to, you know, live for my father and live the best life I could, do the right things so that, you know, he could be looking down and seeing his son, you know, successful. Because I feel like the people that we lose, you know, they wouldn't want us to stop living life because of them. They want us to keep going, just like they were alive. They want you to keep going. They want you to succeed. They want you to live. And part of that is just the acceptance that they're gone. And that's the hardest part. And, you know, I've seen some people say they've had times where they were angry at God. I'll tell you one thing, I was angry at God when I was like 4 years old because I wanted to play outside and it was raining. And my aunt told me, you know, you can't be mad at God for that. It's just, you know, it's just natural courses of things. And I was a child, but still, even then I wasn't angry. I was angry at God. I wasn't angry at him. And I had anger for the person. So I'll just tell you how the accident went, man. Like basically this guy didn't secure stuff on his truck. Dad's on a motorcycle. It falls off the truck. He has to veer off the road and the accident happened. And I was mad at the person. I didn't even, you know, to this day, I don't even know exactly the person. I just know the lawsuit happened and everything, but I don't want to go too deep into that. But I was kind of mad at the person. And, you know, there were thoughts of like me just killing that person. I didn't know who he was. Part of me started to realize, like, what am I doing that for? Not because it was probably just an accident, a stupid accident, a deadly accident that could have been resolved, but because what would that do? What would that bring back? What would that do for your life and how they want to see you, right? It's just, you just have this anger, right? It's anger at the world. It's like when people talk about they're mad at God, right? I think you're just angry at the world, right? You're angry because you can't accept that this is the new reality. And I get it, it fucking sucks, man. It really does. But when you realize that the anger is just there as kind of a coping mechanism, you start to realize that, you know, because you're sad, that meant that you were happy. It's a yin and a yang in things, right? Frank Beverly Mays, joy and pain, you know, joy and pain, like sunshine and rain, right? One happens because of the other. One has to exist because of the other. Take away one, you don't have the other. We know what love feels like because we know what hate is. We know what happiness feels like because we know what sorrow is, right? Even the sunshine and rain thing. We know what the sunshine is because we see the sun. We know when it rains, the sun goes away. Technically, okay, scientifically, it doesn't technically go away, but I'm not going to get into that mess. Point is, you can't have the yin without the yang. And it's because of that I accepted that, because I was able to look back at the memories that I still had, at the love I still had for my father. And that never went away. Sure, again, they're out of the physical, but that love, those memories, those can't be taken away. When that's gone, sure, a person is truly forgotten. But to me, it's still there. It's always been there. And every time I can feel sad about it, I can feel happy at the times that I did have with my father. And that is able to help me. Because you have to realize that in order to feel that sorrow, you had to feel that love. And that was a good thing. right? I get it. We don't like being sad or angry. But when you start to understand why you're angry at something, why you're sad at something, it really opens up your eyes to the world. And that's kind of how, like, you also learn how to control your anger through that. But it really opens your eyes to the world and realize, like, okay, I'm mad because, you know, I love this person. Or I'm sorry for I love this person. But why did I love that person? Because we had these great memories. And are they gone? No, they're not gone. They're still there. Even down in the physical realm, the memory is still there. The love is still there. Nobody can take that away from you until you know, eventually pass on. I don't want to talk about, but that's the point. And that's how I learned to really accept, you know, loss and death from that, because I learned to accept that there was a love. There were many great memories that I had, and I'm thankful, you know, for those memories. I'm thankful that my father was in my life. I grew up in a town where a lot of people's fathers, well, I say in school, were dead. They were absent. Dad wasn't perfect, you know, nobody is, but he was there. He was there to pick me up from school when mom couldn't. He was there to tell me stories about history and talk to me and show me stuff that he was into. He was there. And that's more than what a lot of people can say. And so even though it seems something small, that little thing is very appreciated by me. I even more appreciate it now more than ever. I mean, I've always appreciated it looking back, but, you know, you really got to think about that, right? And that's where that love and those memories came in, right? I remember one time, you know, we were cooking a turkey. It's me, my dad, and my cousin. And I don't remember the full details. I just remember he was teaching us how to do it. I did turkey like flew out. Something happened that day, but it was really funny, right? We were kids. He was trying to teach us a barbecue, and we just didn't care. We wanted to play like football, play the game that Thanksgiving. But it was still fun looking back. And I got more memories like that, you know, when he told me about history and stuff, and when he talked about, especially Black history, because, you know, I'm Black, so that was a big thing. One time, Dad gave me a book because he was going to college. He gave me a sociology book. He was like, read it. And I was like, Dad, I had just started school. I'm like, Dad, I'm reading books from my school. I gotta read this. And I tried to bullshit it. I tried to bullshit it. He called me out because he said he's gonna test me. But I think he was just trying to, you know, expand my knowledge on things. You know, I say it like this, you know, I classify myself with my friends. You know, there are smart people in this world, and there's dumb people in this world. Then there's smart dumbasses. These are people on the outside that you may think are stupid. They're very funny, but they're probably the smartest person in the room. They just don't feel like showing it off. That's kind of how I am, right? I like to be very goofy. But, you know, I drop knowledge when I have to. But I like to be very goofy. Who wants to hear about knowledge all the time? Let's have some fun, right? Let's crack some jokes, do some things like that. And I feel like my dad was one of them. Now, I can't say that to his face because, you know, probably get, you know, still a child. Can't be saying cousin to dad. But the point is, you know, that, you know, he's a very intelligent person. And he's trying to make me that same way. And I've kind of kept that. I'm not a human calculator like he was, but I kept that in other aspects. And I appreciated at the time that I had with him. And to the people who are trying to accept loss now, I had to accept loss before. That's why I would ask you to focus on that love, focus on those memories, right? You know, look at the funeral. And lady at the funeral was talking on the mic, and she actually said this isn't just a mourning. This is a celebration of the life that this person had, right? Why are we here? We're here because we cared about this person. We celebrated their life that they lived, right? Their impact on our lives. You have to really look at it like that, because when you realize the time that you had and you realize, you know, how much love was there, you begin to accept that while they're gone, they really never were taken from you. That idea, their impact on you was never taken from you, never will be taken from you. And that's really how I learned to accept it all. And that'd be just my advice to you, is to remember that love that you had for that person, whoever you lost, because that's what's going to hold all those memories together. And as long as we don't forget the people that we lost, and as long as we can accept that new world, live in it, and live better for them, even if we cry over it, even if we still mourn, or even if we have our sad times, we can, I don't want to say overcome, because it's not overcome. To get that mindset out of your head about overcoming, about being over, because we can live for them. We can accept it and live for them. And it's not as harsh as it always seems. Now, you're probably wondering why I picked these two games for video. Well, one, I have fond memories of playing GTA with my dad. Play a lot, Red Dead. That's another funny story. I remember, like, me and my cousin, because my dad had a PS3. Me and my cousin, you know, Dad wouldn't let us play all the time, right? So we'd be on the computer looking up Red Dead, and we saw the ending, and he was playing through the story of it, and we would mess up his story stuff. We wanted to, you know, be the cowboy and shoot stuff in the West. And we told Dad the ending, and he just, like, he didn't yell or anything. He just, like, It's like, okay. And he looked real mad because he didn't want it to be spoiled. And that's just really funny thinking back to it. But it was like, at the time, I was like, oh, well, that's revenge. You should have let us play the game when we asked. But it's okay. It's okay now. It's just something funny to think about. Dad had little quirks. GTA was a game. It was important because my mom wouldn't let me play it at all. She would not stand it, right? Because all that propaganda that came out. But honestly, it was right. Mature game. I was like 8. But Dad basically just said, hey, I'll get you this. He got it from my PSP. We played like 4 together. We played San Andreas together. He said, I'll get you this. Just don't repeat it. Don't repeat anything that the game said. You're good. And I'm like, okay, that's easy. I'm not going to. And I remember my mom finding GTA Vice, it was Liberty City Stories. I was trying to hide it too. I knew she was gonna take it. She didn't take it though. She said, shit. When she found it. She found it, my dad gave it to me. My mom and dad were separated. She said, shit. He walked out the room and I got to keep it. But it didn't change me, man. Like, I don't, it never affected me, but you do have to teach your kids, like, hey, you can't say that stuff, right? You know what's fiction and what's reality. That's a simple thing. You tell people that, it's fine. Well, maybe you should supervise them, but still. I knew that was wrong to do, but I knew what I looked at it was like a video game. It's just a video game. That's all it was. It was a video game. And video games can tell different stories and have different protagonists and all this stuff, and that's that. But that's why GTA was important. Dad loved Madden and NCAA. Him and my other cousin who's older, my barber, he have a rivalry. Every Sunday they would go in there and play NCAA, and they fight each other in that damn game. Funny as hell. And I liked those games, but I guess I couldn't just play them like that. Because where I grew up, football was so ingrained in the system, right? I was a football manager, right? I didn't play football like fully. I was playing basketball for a little bit, then I was a football manager. Not a water boy. Don't get the two mixed up. My dad was into those sports games so much. And I was like, I had enough. I wanted to play like something like with fantasy, and I wanted to play Sonic. There's another funny story actually with Dad. I remember I was a kid, I was obsessed with Sonic, and I remember I wanted like Sonic 06 because he had a PS3 finally. I got the next gen system. My friends, the funny thing about Sonic 06 is that, like, I know he has the reputation he has online, but as a kid, when other kids go to school to talk about it, they were talking about, oh my God, they had like this fire demon and this other evil version of Shadow that came and killed Sonic, and like they would describe it to like it was the coolest shit ever. And then you watch the trailer for it, and it definitely did like the coolest shit ever. I can't lie to you. That's a whole video right there that I have to make. I don't want to go too in depth in that, but the point is I asked him for that. And he was like, Sonic, is that all you want to play? Sonic? And I'm like, he's like, play something else. I'm like, dog, I'm 10 years old. I'm 10 years old. What the fuck am I supposed? Okay, I didn't say that. But what the fuck am I supposed to play? Okay, like be real. I was 10 years old. I just wanted to play the next Sonic game. That's all I wanted to do. That was just another funny moment. Sorry to keep rambling off on that type of stuff. But that's the main reason why I picked that game, because it was important. And then Klonoa 2, and this is probably the last part of the video, but I want to tell this story. I find it interesting. The reason why I picked Klonoa 2 was because I remember that year finally getting that game before I went up in price, and I really wanted to play it. I really wanted to play the Klonoa game. I wanted to have like the physical copy of the game. The first game was so damn expensive. The second game I was able to find cheaper at the time, and that's the game I was playing when I got the call. Right, we were in a dark room, and I remember I was almost done with the game. I was on the Dark Sea of Tears, right, which is crazy. That's when the world gets messed up, right? Now, why is the world messed up? Because they don't want the Kingdom of Sorrow, right? So in Klonoa 2. And I'm going to make a video about this game. I just want to make this video for the real talk, and also I didn't even want to drag that video down with my dad's, about my dad's death, because I want to talk about the game more. But the point is, in Klonoa 2, there are all these kingdoms that you go to, but they really experience like one emotion and don't want to experience the other, so they're oversaturated with emotion. At the snow place, there's these people who look in the mirrors. They want to stay in the past, but obviously it's the bad thing. They're just stuck looking at memories. They don't want to move forward. There's Kingdom of Joy, but it's like it's too much joy. It's party every day, right? But there's one kingdom missing. That's the Kingdom of Sorrow, and that was going on. The Kingdom of Sorrow was pretty much invading. The world was going to crap. So the Sea of Tears from the first level became the Dark Sea of Tears, and that was the stage that I was on, walking through that. And I had to stop playing the game, and I heard that. I just kind of had it on the screen, just kind of walked around the room, and that was the last time I played that game for a long time until the Klonoa remix came out. And when I finally beat the game, and I saw the story, I was like, this really resonated with what's going on. It's really funny because this would have been a game that Dad hated. He probably thought it was a girly game or something, right? Because of the way the character looks and everything, the way they speak. But it did resonate with me because at the end of the day in that game, in Klonoa 2, the whole game is pretty much like Klonoa gets summoned to the world, someone is crying for his help. The person crying for his help was King Sorrow. and he goes to the kingdom of sorrow, because nobody wants to deal with sorrow. Nobody wants to deal with sorrow, but you have to accept sorrow, because you accepted sorrow, that means you accepted the joy, right? The yin and yang thing, right? You've accepted, the happiness, because you accepted the sadness. You can accept the bad, so the good comes with it. That was always there with it. And I remember at the end of that game, he kind of said it, the kingdom of sorrow, and people learn to live with it. But at the end of that game, he has to. Klonoa was a dream traveler, so he has to leave, right? He leaves his new friends behind. And, the girl, Lolo, she starts crying. She didn't want him to leave. They became good friends. And he says to her, I believe that if you don't forget this sadness of this moment, we'll always be together. And that line kind of resonated with me. Y'all looking at me like, man, you a grown ass man, like this kid's game like that. But it's the truth, man. Like, that is real. If you don't forget that sadness you have for him, you'll always be together. And the memories and the love. And so many people, they may be your guardian angel. You never know. But you can't forget the sadness. You have to accept, so you can accept that love too. And that's the thing I want you to take from this. Is you have to accept both. You have to accept both so that you can continue to live and remember them as well. Now, I'd rather go through life dealing with tragedy, pain, and suffering, because there's always good after that. That's why I can't stop living for nothing. You gotta keep going, especially for the people that are gone. But that's the main message of the video, guys. I thank you guys for watching. I know this went a little bit real deep, and I rambled a bit, but I felt this was an important video to release on Father's Day. I've been waiting to make this video for a long time, and I'm glad I put it in this format, and not just attached to the Klonoa 2 video that'll eventually get made. So you guys can kind of discuss this, and maybe it'll help you, if you're struggling with that. But with that being said, guys, I thank you guys for watching. This is the J Blast Network. You better remember, a dream never dies. And you gotta believe, baby. Yeah. And also, you gotta accept it. Accept the sorrow, accept the pain, accept the happiness, and accept the joy. And you'll eventually be all right. See ya.
Uncle Ben, almost forgot to say goodbye to you.
Did you think things were gonna be easy, boy? Huh? Did you?
But I can't do it, Uncle Ben. You know my rotten luck.
Boy, good or bad luck is nothing but the right or wrong mix of opportunity, preparation, and confidence. Now, I know you're prepared because I had a hand in that. Son, what you lack is confidence. Peter, you can do anything as long as you don't give up on yourself.
You always did believe in me, Uncle Ben, and you always were right. I can't quit. I've got to keep fighting.
A boy has the right to dream. There are endless possibilities stretched out before him. What awaits him down the path, he will then have to choose. The boy doesn't always know. At some point, the boy then becomes an adult and learns what he was able to become. Joy and sadness forever will accompany this. He is confronted with a choice. When this happens, does he bid his past farewell in his heart? Once a boy becomes an adult, he can no longer go back to being a boy. The boy is now a man. Only one thing can be said. A boy has the right to dream, for those endless possibilities are stretched out before him. We must remember, all men were once boys.